Okay, so before we start, this is our agenda for today's event. So we will start by presenting the Hapcap project, and this will be held by my colleague Ugo from Aarhus University, the Hapcap coordinator. And then we will present you the Call 2.2 experiment. We will then have a presentation of tips and lessons learned for a successful application, and this will be held by our colleague Ken Pierce from Newcastle University. And finally, we will have our Q&A slot, and followed by the matchmaking event. So now, Ugo, I will give you the word. And can you still see my screen? Yes?
Yes.
Perfect.
We see the agenda now, and we already have some questions in the chat.
Yeah, okay.
Not sure if anybody wants to fill in those ones meanwhile, but at least from my side, I'll introduce you to the Hapcap project. Thank you everybody for attending our Q&A session. I think we can go directly to the next slide, Katrina, please. So Hapcap, what it is, basically we try to provide this one-stop shop for European SMEs that want to adopt model-based design in their cyber-physical systems development. This one-stop shop is part of Innovation Action, so it's sponsored by the European Commission. And the project started in January 2020, and we will go until December of next year. So basically, the vision or the need for a one-stop shop is that indeed, SMEs, addressing cyber physical systems or developing those, usually find problems in the digitalization process, or when they need to develop models of their systems, and we think, or we put forward this service to them, and part of this service is the open call that we are announcing today, 2.2, where you, as a representative of an SME, can match with another SME, and if you're a provider, you provide a model or a tool for model-based design for the adopter, and the adopter adopts that. The project itself has also this network of digital innovation hubs, the red country names signed there. So if you have, or if you are located in one of those, you can have a direct contact with that digital innovation hub, and they will have some services that they can provide to you. Katerina, can we go for the next slide, please? Yeah, so in this slide that I think that, yeah, it's just an animation of who are the partners. So I'm Hugo, I'm based at Aarhus University, and we coordinate the Hapcap project there. But there are several other partners. So in terms of the digital innovation hubs that I just mentioned, so KTH in Sweden, Newcastle in UK, Fortis in Munich, Germany, Politecnico Milano, and Fondazione Bruno Kessler in Italy, Virtual Vehicle in Austria, and University Lucian Blaga at CBU, Romania. Then we have F6S, where Katerina comes from. They do all the management of the open calls, and you will be contacting them primarily during this process. And we have a set of initial seed SMEs that tested a platform that we developed, and the main responsible is in the next animation, engineering, the operator of the Hapcap Sandbox that I'll talk about soon. So I think in this next slide, indeed, this is the digital innovation hubs. So these 8 partners, we have skills and expertise in model-based design for cyber physical systems. And basically, our network allows us to deliver the 4 functions that a digital innovation hub has. So access to test before invest. So some SMEs may need facilities that are owned or put forward by one of our digital innovation hubs. We help in support to find investments, both in our grant proposal writing, for internal DIH, for instance at AU, we invite SMEs that are in our ecosystem for grants that we write. But for instance, in this case, we even have these open calls that we may match you with some other SME that like kind of needs your expertise to and try to get funding from our program to make the idea a reality. So we also have like kind of innovation ecosystem and networking services, like kind of put forward like kind of events and all the ecosystem building for like kind of the ideas to flow, and skills and training, right? That's another function that a digital innovation hub has. For instance, the universities are usually like kind of uh, have a long tradition of like kind of putting forward like kind of courses and all kinds of training, like kind of materials and programs. So in the next slide, I usually lay the common ground for what a cyber physical system is and what's the challenge. So if you're new to this, a cyber physical system, we just like kind of plainly define it as any system like kind of where computation like kind of affects and interacts with physical processes. And well, in the animations or in the figures, we have some kind of ideas of what it could be. So anything from like kind of a spectacular, like kind of airplane, like kind of controller, or it could be something like a door opener. It's just some like kind of piece of equipment that like kind of affects physical systems, but the control of it is not manual, or at least not completely manual. There's a computational process like kind of mediating that behavior. So it is known that like kind of it's a problem to, or it's a challenge to develop these cyber physical systems, especially like kind of when you want to add smartness to it. You want to have models of these systems, especially nowadays. We talk a lot about digital twins. A digital twin involves a digital model that runs at the same time that the physical asset is running. So if your door is opening, there's like kind of some feedback, or there's like kind of the same notion in the virtual side or in the digital model side. And that's why, or that's where Hapcap comes in, is that like kind of if you have an SME that may have some models, may have already some smartness in its system, but if you want to adopt model-based design to get you to higher levels of smartness, maybe you need models. So yet again, in this slide, model-based design. So what we think, or what it is model-based design for us. And well, although you may know what is model-based design, in this slide, I just try to push forward the idea that though a model is just a representation of an actual system. So in this example, if we think a wastewater treatment plant and like kind of some kind of valve inside, or some motor that has some state on and off that is controlled by some software, in the end, kind of everything that is not the physical implementation of it, anything that is modeling its behavior that you use to develop it. For instance, some SMEs would have already some assets there. We consider those models. So they should be executable in a computer, and you should be able to like kind of use them in operations or development, or any any of the stages of life cycle of a product. But basically, Hapcap is interested in models and tools, especially if they can run on top of a standard like an operating system and a virtual machine. And we are agnostic from like kind of methodology or like kind of vendor or specific like kind of ecosystem for model-based design. So if you have assets in terms of models or tools, we are really interested in those, and you will be able to upload one of those during, if you succeed in winning the 2.2 call. Next slide, please, Katerina. Thank you. So yeah, the whole point on the being executable in a virtual machine is because Hapcap, in addition to a network of digital innovation hubs, in addition to open calls, we also developed what is called a Hapcap Sandbox, which basically provides a web portal and web access to virtual machines, where you as a tool provider can deploy a tool and a model, like kind of ready to use, and you can even share it with some partners or potential adopters. And the adapter itself, it doesn't need to like kind of deal with all the complexity of installing dependencies or getting the tool to run when he wants to experiment with it. He could just like kind of access that virtual machine through his browser as well, and immediately manipulate the model at the same time as you are doing it in your own local machine. So in the next slide, I think, we see the architecture for this sandbox that has been developed during the Hapcap project. So if you know, you will find what a standard cloud provider would provide to a client. So basically, we have a sandbox is like kind of basically defined as a set of virtual machines. Maybe you only need one, but basically they can be connected by VLANs, and you have access to a network file system share, and like kind of all the metadata that is needed to cook and prepare one of these sandboxes and put it to run is stored in our system. And basically, if your tool runs on an operating system, you can deploy it in one of these virtual OSs there. And on top of your tool, you can have a model that is like kind of auto run, or like kind of somebody just needs to click on an icon and get it to run. So usually here I play a demo. Maybe, yes. Thank you, Katerina. So basically, this is just if the video loads fast, we see it. Otherwise, I just share it in the chat and you can see what it is about, because all our videos are hosted on our YouTube channel. If you type hapcap_EU, you can see those. But at least on my side, I just see a loading.
Yes, same here. So maybe we
skip this
skip.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you will be able to.
Wait.
Oh, yeah, something appeared now.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah. So basically, it's a web interface, as mentioned, and I think it's on pause now. Yeah. And basically, it implements some kind of shopping cart-like system where, like, kind of you have the possibility to select tools and models to add to your shopping cart. Then you launch it, and like kind of it prepares everything on the backbone. And after it loads, you can just access this remote machine. And in this case, we're exemplifying with Tentisim, a tool in our initial seed SMEs palette, or like kind of basket. And like kind of, well, if you're communicating with a client, like kind of about some kind of robotic manipulator that this client would like to adopt this model, or maybe like kind of check whether this model would be suitable for like kind of further development to model its own products, you could just like kind of do a quick interaction or demo with these clients using our sandbox. So I think now we're ready to go to the next slide. You can watch all our videos in Hapcap. We can drop the link. Basically, this now is for the providers of you in our group here. So if you're interested in developing, or not developing, sorry, if you're the one that like kind of is pairing with an adopter and you should provide an asset, we have a process for sandbox asset integration. So basically, we expect you some details about your models and who will be accessing the sandbox, who is the responsible one user will be given to you, like kind of this person will be the point of contact in your SME, and this person will be responsible, he or she will be responsible to deploy the tool or make the model run in the sandbox. Then there's some other steps. So at some point, like kind of, you will be given access to the platform. At some points, you may need to participate in a training session before that. But then like kind of you'll be ready to feed our platform catalogs. So like kind of the places where you see the elements that you add to the shopping cart. This is the easy part. You don't need to provide us any of the files for the model or tool that you want to deploy. You can just fill in the details, who you are, what this model does, how a potential client could use it. And then like kind of there will be roadmap details or instructions. Nowadays, we even have videos in the YouTube channel on how to then deploy the asset in the platform. So a usual question at this point is, well, my IP, how do I protect? What happens if I deploy something in the sandbox? So there's several answers to these questions, but basically like kind of first things first, if this is a marketplace and you want to find clients, you probably have demos. So please upload those or immediately go for the I don't want to disclose any business secret, but at the same time, I want to show off or how I want to demonstrate how people can use my technology. So use those kind of resources that mostly we have nowadays, or you may have. And yeah, and on the other side of the spectrum, we also have what is known as a private sandbox. So you can deploy your tool in a private sandbox and share it with only a restricted number of people, or like kind of probably you, and you have to trust the platform vendor or like kind of provider. But that's it. I think Katerina, you were almost there, right? Indeed. In short, this is our offer. So we have this network of digital innovation hubs. You can contact us. We have services, and during this project, we are also interested in getting new SMEs in our ecosystems and getting more innovation and research going on. In the open calls, Katarina will now like kind of move forward and like kind of explain you more, get you into the details of this specific call. And we have this collaboration platform that you you should kindly use or try to use. It's a service that we put forward that you can use during your project. And indeed, the main focus is model-based design. So we would really expect that you have cyber-physical systems that need a new model and that you can match with or you have a provider that can like kind of provide you a service or a tool or access to a model that like kind of it enables the cyber-physical system to become smarter, or at least the next level of your product. So that's it from my side, I think.
Yes, it is, Hugo. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, Katarina. You've also been really helpful.
So now we will proceed to the presentation where we go more into details in what refers to call 2.2 experiments. Going through the slides. So before we start for call 2.2, I'd just like to remind you that Hapcap is it has nearly 3.2 million equity free fund for SMEs, mid-caps, and it has 3 different types of open calls. So we have the individual application open calls, which is call pool. We just concluded call 1.4, and here is an open call dedicated only to the SMEs that are providing the model-based design tools to integrate it and add it to the Hapcap platform. And of course, by attending a training workshop, training event, the SMEs will receive a grant of 1,000 euros. So then we have the call 2 experiments, and we are now accepting applications for the second and last experiment call. And this open call is for a consortium of 2 SMEs. So it will be 1 provider and 1 SMEs, 1 provider and 1 adopter SME. And the budget, the funding allocated per consortium goes up to 75,000 K. And then we have the call 3 Innovate, we had it at only one open call, and this open call was specifically dedicated for a consortium of 2 or 3 SMEs, where it could be composed by at least one provider SME and by at least one adopter SME. And the funding provided per consortium were up to 200,000 K, and we can say that we are now implementing. We have selected 10 strongly innovative projects, and we are in the process of implementing the Call 3 program. But going into more details on the call 2.2, so this is the timeline. Call opened in November, and it will be open until 2nd of February, so nearly 3 months of open call. Then from February to March, we will have our evaluation and selection period. And once this selection is concluded, we will have our second batch of SMEs or consortium and we will start our call 2.2 experiment. So as you can see here, it's divided in 2 main phases. At the end of each phase, there's a payment associated. And we will also go into more details on what refers to this. The maximum month allocated to call 2.2 experiment is 6 months. So each sprint or phase has a duration of 2 to 3 months maximum. So how can you participate and apply to our second and last open call? So all the applications are of course submitted through the F6S platform, and here you will find a dedicated online application form, and submissions are only received through the F6S platform, and we will not consider other channels such as, for example, emails or direct message we receive. So each consortium can only submit one proposal per open call. And this happened before, so we had already some consortium that apply with more than one proposal. So, and of course, this information is also detailed in the guidelines for applicants that we invite you to read carefully and follow up everything. But in case the same consortium submits more than one proposal, what we will do is we will see the last one received, and we will consider only the last proposal submitted. The other one will be automatically excluded. So we will not accept applications written in different languages. So English is the official language, and it's the only applications that we will be evaluating. We receive a lot of questions about United Kingdom companies. Yes, UK, by the time the Hapcap project was approved, UK was an European associated country, so UK applicants are considered eligible. We also advise you to be concrete and concise, to read carefully all the questions. We have different explanations for each question. We have character limitations. So you can go through all we have compiled a set of documents to help you with your applications, so you can go and read them carefully, examine all the open call documents. And of course, if you have other questions and doubts, you can always contact us directly. And finally, we always say this, but we strongly recommend you not to wait until the last minute to submit your proposal. So you have 3 months to conclude everything on time. And we also have in our previous open calls, we also had some situations where SMEs waited until the last minute to submit, and then there's a delay on the platform, on the F6S platform, or there's some minor error, and for some reason you are not able to submit it on time. So if this happens, we cannot help you. So we, because it's an online application form, and this is the system submission. Once it's closed, once the deadline is reached, it's closed, and the system and network failures will not be accepted as an excuse. So if we go into more details about the application form, of course, both Hapcap and App Success are GDPR compliant, and in the application form, there's a request of minimum personal information needed, and this is requested by the European Commission and also used for the evaluation process. But this is it, and you need to accept, of course, but we are GDPR compliant. So a summary of the proposals and some participants' information will be shared with the European Commission, with the pool of external evaluators that will be assessing the proposals, and of course within the Hapcap consortium. There's a set of annexes that are mandatory to upload with your application form. So each consortium member needs to upload its own declaration of honor and its own SME declaration, and you can find the editable formats of both annexes in our website, the dedicated page for the experiment calls. And then the consortium has to upload Annex 6, which is the consortium declaration of honor, and Annex 10, which is the ethics self-assessment. In all these documents, it's necessary all members need to sign the respective documents. There are some checkboxes you need to read and check, tables, etc. So go take your time and see everything with careful and attention. In case there's an additional annexes. In case an SME or the user SME is partnering with a new provider SME, what this means exactly. So we have already a list of providers SMEs in our website and also Hapcap platform, and these are SMEs have been the winners of the pool calls. So if you are a user SME, so an adopter SME, and you're looking for an SME that will provide you with the technology you need to improve, or in this case, with the model-based design tools you need to improve your cyber-physical systems, you can go and check our list. If this is the case, you don't need to upload Annex 3.1. However, you can also partner with the new SME, so outside of the Hapcap ecosystem. So if you are partnering with an SME that it's outside the Hapcap ecosystem, then you need to upload Annex 3.1, because in this annex you will provide the new information about the asset that will be integrated, in case you are selected, integrated in the Hapcap platform. So this is the difference. Okay, regarding the funding scheme, as I said before, so it's a consortium of 2 SMEs, and so 1 adopter and 1 provider SME, and the consortium will receive fundings between a minimum of 30K and a maximum of 75K. So the exact budget for your experiments, it's something that you or the members of the consortium should discuss and define, and of course submit under the application form. So the maximum funding that you are allowed to receive for Call 2.2 experiment is 75,000K. So, and this is divided, so the payments are divided in 2 different sprints. So the sprint 1, which is the interactive development per se of your experiment, and corresponds to 50% of payment. And then you have a sprint 2, which is actually more related to the conclusion of your experiment and integration of the proposed experiment. And this corresponds to the remaining 50% payment. There's a particularity regarding the Hapcap program. So each SME, it's only allowed to receive a maximum funding of 100,000K. And this is not only for the Hapcap program, but also for the Smart Anything initiative projects that you may previously applied and received funding to, or also the I4MS initiative with the same thing. But we, if you go into the guidelines for applicants, there's a particular chapter that discuss this in more details, so you have all the information there. Of course, if you have questions, you can also contact us. So what will be the evaluation process? So after you submit your application through the App Success platform, there's, and we close the open call deadline, there's an eligibility check that will be held before going into the evaluation process, so the external evaluation. And you also have a list of steps that we will be checking on the guidelines for applicants. So in case you are not eligible to proceed to the evaluation process, you will receive an email with your rejection letter explaining why you haven't been considered eligible. I can tell you that the majority of proposals that are not eligible is because they failed to submit one of the annexes, or they failed to sign properly and filled it properly one of the annexes. So pay attention to this. In case you are eligible, then you will proceed to the evaluation, to the external evaluation that will be held by 2 external evaluations per application, so per proposal. And once this is concluded, so we will have a maximum, so we will select up to 10 consortium only. And in the end of this process, if you are one of the selected consortium, you will receive an acceptance email with your evaluation summary report. However, if you are not selected, you will receive also a rejection email with your summary evaluation reports. And within this summary evaluation report, you will be access to the score you receive from each evaluation criteria, as well as the comments provided by the external evaluators. Of course, this evaluation is anonymous, so you will not receive information about who were the external experts that were assessing your proposal. Your experiments or your proposal will be evaluated based on the following. So they on the set of following criteria. So each criteria will have a mark of 1 to 10, and of course, all the external experts will have expertise in model-based design and models and tools, and also expertise in cyber-physical system technologies and business development. So they are both technical and business experts. So each criteria will have a mark between 1 to 10, and here you have the score values that will indicate the following assessments. So you can poor, fair, good, very good, and excellent. So I'm not going to spend a little time in here because all this information is provided in the guidelines for applicants. But please note that if you receive a score from 1 to 2 in any of the criteria, this disqualifies the overall proposal, because there's a ranking, there's a threshold of 5 that you need to achieve in order to be considered for selection. So these are the evaluation criteria. So your proposals will be evaluated considering your alignment. So your alignment with the objectives and open call objectives and challenges, your added value of your experiments, your technology, innovation, etc. So also the excellency. So in here, the external experts will go into more details in what refers to the clarity and pertinence of the objectives, is the excellency, the innovation, quality of the objectives, and how you demonstrate your innovation potential compared to already existing technology solutions available on the market. Then you have the impact, and of course here is more connected to the business category, and they will be assessing business scalability and recapability of your experiment, the target markets, your go-to-market strategy, and of course, and here you need to also demonstrate a clear effectiveness and clear milestones and KPIs and on how you will conduct the experiment and exploit and disseminate the project results, including your IPR. Then you have the value, and here is about your budget. So please present a clear budget definition per SMEs or per member, and don't forget that please indicate the user or the adopter SME benefits from the experiment. And finally, in the implementation and team capacity. And here, of course, they will evaluate how the members of the consortium will work together and if they have the necessary expertise to conduct the experiments. And this is it from my side. So I don't know if you have any questions. If, well, we will address them at the end of this presentation, the last one. So now I will give the word to my colleague, Ken. I don't know if you, yes.
Morning. Control works for me.
Perfect, yes.
I'm controlling screen one. Let's see if this works. How do I make the slide change?
Yeah, Ugo had the same issue. I don't know, because in my computer, so you're now controlling it.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit slower.
I try page down, apply down, right, enter. Yeah, I suppose I don't know which button does it, I'm afraid.
If you go down,
Okay, up and down arrow, great, all right. Great, we're all sorted. Sorry about that, folks. All right, so yeah. Sorry, I didn't have my camera on earlier. I had a little bit of thing going on, but I seem to have got it fixed now. So thanks very much to Hugo and Katerina for introducing the project and some of the key details you need to be aware of. Obviously, a chance to ask questions after as well. And yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about some value added on top of that with things that we've seen go well for previous calls and just help you do the best proposal possible. So my name's Ken Pierce. I'm from the School of Computing here in Newcastle. It's honestly not this sunny behind me at the moment. So I'll try and remind myself of some. So I'm going to be talking about tips for a successful proposal and some key links that you can use to kind of help get more information as well. So what are we looking for? So we've kind of heard this a little bit, so I try and add on a little bit of deeper information in some areas. So we're supporting consortia of 2 SMEs to experiment with model-based design techniques. If you're unfamiliar with model-based design, then maybe you find yourself as a user who could be introduced as part of an experiment. If you produce some software or product that uses model-based design, then maybe you'd be better as a provider. What we're really looking for is model-based design, so using sort of mathematical models or other models, computer models that are better able to help people build cyber-physical systems. So one should be some kind of provider and one should be a user. The provider may have been involved with us before from one previous call, for example, one of our call ones. So we have a range of different asset providers who have joined our ecosystem through one of our smaller call ones. So if you don't have a partner to work with, you can go and search through the kind of previous winners and see if there's anyone there who's interested. You might also meet people today who can do that. So it's good to get in your mind if you feel you are an asset user, so you don't really do model-based design currently, or there is more model-based design you could be doing if you had a certain access to something. Or it should be clear if you have a product or service that is around model-based design, and then you can offer that. So as Katerina mentioned, if we have an existing SME, they'll often be already integrated. So they own the SME, the asset's already there, and they just collaborate with the new asset user. Or as we mentioned with filling in the extra annex, if you're completely new to Hapcap, we just ask for a little bit of extra information about your asset, just to make sure that it sort of fits within our relatively broad definition of model-based design. And there's my two little pretty diagrams about uploading to the platform and working together. So we've probably said asset quite a lot now. What is an asset? We think of it as some kind of model-based design thing that can help in the design of a cyber physical system. So we generally, you might hear us talk about tool assets or model assets. So I tried to give a definition here. So a tool asset is a piece of software or something like a service that allows creation of or analysis of some kind of computer model. So we might think of things like MATLAB is pretty famous. Modelica is fairly famous as well, things like Enterprise Architect. There's lots and lots of software tools, so pieces of software that allow you to do modeling, simulation, analysis, model checking, proof. There's a whole range of model-based things. The EG there in that definition is very much an EG, so it's far from an exhaustive list of what we might consider a piece of software. And generally, if you're an SME doing that, you're often going to be having built your own software or service that you're then bringing to the consortium as your main contribution on model-based design. We might also have a model asset. So rather than a software that can model something, it's typically going to be a model of something inside a, it might need a tool to do that. So if you had a MATLAB model of a component that you sell, that would be a model asset because it's a model itself and it requires another tool to use. But that can also be part of a consortia. So you might be, as part of the experiment, trying to integrate your component into the other SME's product or the other way around. And then your contribution there is the model of your component or system or thing that you produce. So that's how we see the thing, that split between tool and model. There's no judgment about which one you do, other than your proposal should sell why it's model-based design. So you should just make it clear in your proposal what aspect of model-based design, maybe what notation, what language, what services are offered by your tool, or what modeling language that your model asset is. So what might an experiment look like? We only really constrain that there are two SMEs, they use model-based design, and someone's being introduced to model-based design. So what might that look like? So we'd like to see each experiment being driven by the needs of the asset user, and it should involve the asset from the provider. So that might look like something like a winner from call one. So they already have a tool for modeling, let's say, manufacturing. Maybe the other SME wants to improve their manufacturing processes, so they form a consortium, and the experiment funds the companies to try applying modeling tool to the plant. Or you might have something like someone producing wind turbines, working with another SME doing oil filters. So if the oil filter company happens to have a model, then they can bring that to the consortium and use that oil filter with an existing wind turbine model. But there are sort of, this is not that you have to fit into one of these, this is just a couple of examples. We've had many others in previous experiments, and we're excited to see what cool ideas you can come up with, because they're often going to be better than my simple examples. So a couple of tips. This is from experience of previous calls. So read the guidelines carefully. So we've tried to put all the information there in the clearest fashion as possible about the scope and objectives of the call and specific guidelines for successful applications. I would encourage you, you're already here at webinars, which is great. So ask questions here or in the chat, so you're not spending time on a proposal that turns out to be ineligible, for example, from having an eligible country. Our contract with the Commission requires us that any partners who are funded through our open calls comply with confidentiality and no conflict of interest clauses regarding applications. So you need to just be aware of that and read those parts of the document as well. And as I was saying, yeah, engage with us and ask questions. So in general, the people we've met and talked to at these webinars or responded to by emails have a better chance to get funded because we've avoided misunderstandings, or we've been able to help do some early validation on the rough ideas so that they're not spending too long applying for something that is unlikely to be in scope, for example. And we have some important links here. So these slides get shared afterwards, so you don't have to write all these links down. It's just to draw your attention to them. So the submission is done through the F6S platform, and there's also a discussion board there for Q&A. So that's often a good way to get in touch with people. There's also an email address, info@hubcap, which comes to a shared mailbox, and we'll typically, if it's a simple sort of eligibility question, we'll be able to answer. If not, or it's something more technical, we'll point you in the right direction and forward you on to a relevant person in the consortium. So there's the link for the application form. So that what /discuss is Q&A, /apply is the form. The guidelines can be found on our website under experiments. And there's an FAQ there as well, where we've been trying to gather questions from previous things. So it's fairly well up to date now with questions from previous ones as well. And you can also sign up for our newsletter if you're interested to hear about what else has been happening with, say, some of our previous experiments that are starting to finish now. There'll be newsletters soon with some information about what happened. And I think that's it from me.
Yes, Ken, it is. Thank you so much. So I will request control again. Okay, perfect. So I think I can see that we have questions on the chat. So let me, why is this like this? I don't know. Okay. So if we go through the questions on the chat. Okay, so yeah, sorry, Japan, unfortunately, it's not a eligible country, so European or European associated countries are eligible for the Hubcap program. And this is it. So I don't know if anyone else would like to ask something. After the Q&A, and I'm now asking my colleague Eloise to step up. We are organizing rooms, and we will divide you in rooms. You will have approximately 5 minutes to talk with each other and see if you are a fit or not, and then you will change to a different room. But before, let's see if we have another question about models. Okay, Kirill, go ahead. You can unmute yourself and turn on the camera and pose your question.
Oh, thank you. I was actually typing it. Thank you very much.
That's okay. No.
Yeah. The question, I think the question shall be addressed to Ken. Ken, thanks a lot for the detailed explanations. But I'm still a little bit confused. We did an application for the previous version of the call, and we see that our scoring was quite decent. So we got through the thresholds. And the lowest one was about the alignment with the call. So the question is, so yeah, we do have a consortium, and let's say there are two software companies developing some solutions. But it looks to me, from what you're saying, is I'm getting a little bit different understanding from what is published on the website. So the question is it that the asset shall be either some tool, so which is kind of very narrow and specific, and it's mostly for software tools developers, which is not a huge market, or some component that can be analyzed by a tool? Do I have a correct understanding now?
I think we've probably funded both. So we do have some of the sort of narrow definition of people who do produce quite specific tools for doing modeling analysis of certain systems, and they've applied and found people to come up with new ideas and that kind of thing. We have a couple of, I think we have a couple where we've got some new model of something is also fine. I might need to know a bit more about your specific, because you mentioned you're both software companies.
Yeah, so in our application, we applied with we wanted to do a digital twin of a mobile app of our software solution. So basically, digital twins of mobile apps, which are not something universal, not a digital twin of any mobile app. So it's not a universal tool that can be used by anyone.
Got you. I see. I don't think that would necessarily limit you. Obviously, the cause can be fairly competitive, so you can score very well, and still there's happens to be people above you that don't score.
No. Okay.
I think we could maybe have a chat about that, but I think it doesn't sound out of scope in general. Certainly, I'm just thinking about the projects I've worked with. They've often had, in the proposal, they've built a model of something, and that could be applied elsewhere, but it isn't within the scope of the project. So possibly it's just reapplying, but improving some of the aspects that either make it clearer or make the story a bit clearer might help us.
All right. Then in that case, a connected question with the assets. So we, from reading the website of the Hapcap platform, the impression was that the whole marketplace with the assets is something that could be used by SMEs as one more distribution channel for to at least to try to reach the potential clients of who could be using the software. Is this the main goal of the marketplace or no, or there's some different objective which is the main objective of having this marketplace in the first place? Why does it exist? Sure.
Yeah, so overall, we're aiming to lower the barrier to entry for SMEs who want to get involved with doing modeling stuff. So whatever it is, like more traditional hardcore modeling, or that sort of bottom-up machine learning models, or digital twin kind of things. The marketplace is sort of a place to be seen. We're now at a point where we can offer people, they can sign up and read stuff on the front page. They can also get further in, and there are like anyone who's been in a call, they have a listing there, so you can find the company. Those with assets on the platform, you can kind of click try it now, and it loads up, and you can just try the tool out or try their software out. Some people just put up demos of their things because it's maybe they don't produce a tool, but they produce sort of models of things. Those go up, and then so that's probably why I would say it exists rather than anything else.
All right, thanks. Now it's more clear.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Thank you for the answer.
Thank you so much, Kirill. And we now have two raised hands. So one from Cyprus. If you would like to, okay.
Our project is automated data collection from production plant. So we have a client who wants to collect data directly from the old machinery. So they have not IoT ready all the production machines, and we would like to place some sensors and to collect data from the production informations like quantity and time, and all this data collected will be integrated with an ERP solution. So they don't want to list the paper, to fill the paper, and after then to collect manually in the ERP system. Is that fits the project? So
Ken, you're muted.
I think the domain sounds good. So your manufacturing data collection sounds good. I think towards enterprise resource planning, yeah, I think that would make sense. So I think you'd need to be clear what the model was in your application. So how does it fit with kind of model-based design? I think that would probably be the main thing.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so second hand raised by Shangli from Better Sense.
Yeah. Hi, guys.
Hi. Hi.
Thanks for the talk. Right. And let me just try to open my video. Right. So I want to just ask some detailed question on the application itself. In the form, there's in the 20s is experiment scheme and picture and regarding the technical design and informatics. So I'm just wondering to what detail is it required for that? Do we need to like draw what kind of machine are we designing? The system diagrams and the like also the model that we're trying to use, or is more on the surface to talk about the problem, solution, and benefits, more abstract? What is expected there?
Ken, would you like to address, or should I?
Sorry, slight emergency here. Can you do it, Katerina?
Yeah, sure. So I think it's the main idea is for you to present a general overall of what you are proposing. So focusing on the model-based design tool or models you want to apply to the experiment. Well, in which you want to work in the experiment. It doesn't need to be something really detailed, because if you are one of the selected consortium, you will have time to work on that and present at the end of sprint 2 a demo. And of course, this can include a better improved scheme, but it's just to provide an overall picture of what you are proposing exactly. So something more general, but focusing a little bit more on the model-based design part, and how it's going to be integrated in the CPS.
Okay, right. And a separate question is about the budgeting. Is there still a separation between direct and indirect cost, or its budgeting is like it doesn't list them in a separate way?
No, for the call to experiments, it's not listed in the different way. Let me see, because we have the call to innovate, where it was really specific because it was a higher amount of budget, and we ask people to really go into more details in indirect costs and indirect costs. But Hapcap is a lump sum program, so this means we need you to present us the total budget, and for the total budget of the experiment and the budget divided per SMEs, because we have that particularity of we can only provide up to 100,000 euros funding per SME, taking into consideration Hapcap, Smart Anything Everywhere, and I4MS initiatives. So we need to know the total amount of the budget, so to which you are applying, and per member of the consortium. But then in the end, it's a lump sum. So the payments will be based on that total amount. So we will not request sheets or receipts or everything for the purpose of the project, although you need to save all the things in case there's an audit, but it's for you as SMEs and consortium. So in terms of budgeting, that's it. So you can separate the direct costs and the indirect costs. And if, for example, if you need to buy software or hardware to conduct the experiment, you can also explain that. However, for us, in terms of budgeting, we will just be evaluating the total amount and how the budget is divided per member, taking into account the different activities and tasks that are allocated to each member of the consortium. I don't know if this answers the question.
Yeah, very clear.
Okay.
Thank you, Katerina.
You're welcome. So if we don't have any, okay, one more questions. Okay, so if there's no more questions, I will now give the word to my colleague, Eloise, so that we can start doing the matchmaking and separating in the rooms. Eloise?
Yes, sorry, I'm having some problems with my camera. There are some days it just doesn't open. I'm not really sure what is that about. We will open now 12 separate rooms for you to get in, and you can choose which room you want to get. And after 5 minutes, we will open the rooms again, and you choose a different one from before. So it's pretty straightforward, okay? So we will put you in 2 people rooms, is the ideal. Maybe we will need a room with 3 people, but no more than 3 people per room, all right? If you have any questions, you can ask me or Katarina, and I will now create the rooms.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.